You're a German infantryman in the 6th Army. It's late September 1942. You've been fighting your way across the Russian steppe for months, watching the summer warmth fade into the kind of bitter wind that turns your skin to paper. Your unit has been promised warm barracks, easy victory, and that the Soviets are finished. Instead, you're met with frost-covered corpses and the distant metallic rattle of Soviet tank engines. The city on the horizon doesn't look like much, just grey smudges and concrete bones. But it's not the skyline that haunts you, it's the wind. It howls like something alive, curling between your scarf and your neck flap, whispering things you don't want to hear. You pull your coat tighter, but it doesn't help. The fabric's thin. Regulation issue, tailored more for autumn parades than Russian winters. You march with your unit toward the Volga River, each step grinding frozen mud beneath your worn boots. They're already stiff from yesterday's frost. The lining inside squishes with half-melted ice from last night. And the toes? You haven't felt them since dawn. Command says Stalingrad will fall in a week. Just a mopping up operation. That's the phrase they keep tossing around like it's reassuring. But the only thing you're mopping up are the insides of burned out houses and what's left of your stomach after eating another tin of liver sausage that expired in 1939. Every time you glance at the city, something about it feels off. There are no birds, not even the crows, just smoke pillars, rising like ghosts. You know the Soviets are in there, waiting. You've heard stories, whole factories turned into fortresses, basements rigged with explosives, sewer tunnels crawling with partisans. You look at the guy next to you. His scarf is crusted with ice, and he hasn't blinked in 10 minutes. Maybe he's daydreaming about Berlin, or maybe he's already detached. The human mind has funny ways of coping when it's headed straight into hell. By now, the horses pulling supply carts are starting to fall behind. They're limping, overburdened, breath visible in thick clouds. One collapses into the snow, legs twitching, eyes wide and glassy. No one stops. You just step around it. That's how things work now. Keep moving or freeze. You trudge past another unit digging shallow trenches into half-frozen dirt. Some of them have wrapped rags around their heads. Others are using pages from old Russian newspapers to line their boots. One guy is stuffing straw down the front of his coat. He doesn't look dignified, but no one laughs. Dignity froze to death 3 towns ago. And the smell. God, the smell! Even in freezing temperatures it manages to reach your nose. It's not just rot or decay. It's something more metallic, oily, like burnt meat and axle grease. You try not to think about it. Night falls fast here. 1 minute it's dim, the next it's pitch black. You light a cigarette with shaking fingers, the ember casting just enough glow to reflect in someone's eyes. There's no talking. What's there to say? It's too cold for jokes and too soon for prayers. You finally reach a forward position where someone half-jokingly says, "Welcome to the front." It's a shell crater with a canvas tarp draped across some broken beams. The wind still gets in. You take your spot on the frozen ground and hug your rifle like a teddy bear. It's the only thing that gives you a sense of control. There's a rumour going around that a Unit 2 clicks east walked straight into a Soviet ambush. Not a bullet fired, just mines and Molotovs from the rubble. No survivors. You chew on a piece of black bread so hard it cracks your molar. You spit out the fragment. It's not worth the energy to complain. Later that night, your watch begins. You stand facing the Black City. Somewhere inside those ruins, a sniper is probably watching you too. You hope he's cold. You hope he misses. You know it's stupid, but you quietly ask the sky for a little mercy. Just a few more days. Just enough to make it through this mess. A low boom rolls across the horizon. Distant artillery. One of your comrades whispers that it's probably Soviet. Another says it's German. It doesn't matter. You're too tired to care who's firing what. It starts to snow again. Not the pretty kind. More like ash and haze mixed together. It cakes into your sleeves, your eyebrows, your rifle sight. You blink it away and keep staring. Eyes on the ruins, waiting for something to move. And in that moment, with your fingers numb, your teeth chattering, and the stink of kerosene still in your nostrils, it dawns on you. This isn't war anymore. It's survival. Barely. No medals, no glory, just ice, ruin, and silence. And you're only at the edge of the city. Tomorrow you'll go in. You wake up to the sound of boots crunching frozen earth and a sharp jab in the ribs from the butt of an officer's rifle. There's no gentle morning in Stalingrad. No coffee, no rising sun over blooming fields, just smoke, orders, and a bitter wind that never seems to stop. Your back aches from sleeping on rubble, and your legs tingle with that weird, itchy numbness that means the circulation never fully came back. On your feet, someone growls. We're moving in. You blink into the pale grey light and squint toward the ruins of the city ahead. It doesn't look like a city anymore. It looks like something bombed, chewed and coughed back up. Skeletons of buildings loom like jagged teeth, some still faintly glowing with the embers of last night's shelling. In the distance you hear sporadic gunfire. Short, barked exchanges that end with silence. Always silence. Your unit joins a long column of infantry winding toward the outskirts of Stalingrad proper. The ground is littered with spent cartridges, shattered helmets, and occasional brown lumps you try not to look too closely at. The closer you get, the more the city feels like a giant steel trap. You're walking into a maze with no map, no exit, and no guarantee anyone will be around to remember your name. You pass a half-destroyed apartment block where another group of soldiers is huddled inside. One of them waves you over. You shake your head. Orders are orders. But you notice the wall behind him is charred black with soot, and above it, scrawled in red, someone's painted a simple phrase, "Welcome to hell." Charming. As you cross a splintered railway yard, your foot catches on something buried in snow. You look down. It's a severed hand, frozen mid-reach. You don't say anything. You just keep walking. Nobody says anything anymore. It's not long before you realise this isn't a front line. It's a funnel. Streets narrow. Buildings lean over you. Snipers lurk in every window, every chimney, every half-collapsed roof. They don't fire often. Just enough to keep you nervous. One shot every 10 minutes, like clockwork. Just enough to make you flinch when a bird moves. Historians still argue whether the Soviets intentionally lured the German army into a kill zone, or if the Red Army just turned desperation into a cruel kind of art. Either way, it works. You've been moving less than 2 hours and already lost 3 guys. One to a hidden mine, one to sniper fire, and one just vanished. Slipped into a hole in the floor of an abandoned school and never came out. Maybe he fell. Maybe he's hiding. Maybe he was taken. Nobody has time to find out. By midday, you're crawling on your belly through a factory yard. Machine tractor plant, someone says. Used to build farm equipment. Now, tanks. The Soviets are still using it, even while it's under siege. You duck behind a rusting engine block as bullets slap into the concrete nearby. A comrade beside you screams, grabbing his shoulder. You pull him into cover and press a bandage into the wound. It's not deep, but he's shaking. Not from pain, from fear. You know the feeling. Overhead, a German Junkers 87 dive bomber screams past, trailing smoke. Seconds later, it crashes into a warehouse 2 blocks away with a sound like the world being torn in half. You feel the ground jump beneath you. Pieces of roof rain down like deadly confetti. You don't know whether to laugh or cry. By afternoon, you're inside the city proper. It's worse than you imagined. Every street is rubble. Every room could be a death trap. You're ordered into a bombed-out department store and told to clear it floor by floor. It takes hours. The Soviets have tunnelled between walls, hidden behind curtains, laid traps beneath floorboards. You find one sniper nest hidden behind a stack of women's shoes. One of your squad nearly dies opening a wardrobe rigged with a grenade and a tripwire. Who even thinks of that? There's no communication with command, radios barely work, maps are useless. Streets change shape daily as rubble piles up and new shell holes appear. The city is folding in on itself. You don't advance. You ooze forward, like syrup on broken glass. The worst part? You're not even sure where the front line is. Sometimes the Soviets are behind you, sometimes beneath you. Once you find an old grandmother sitting alone in a kitchen, completely unfazed by the firefight in the hallway. She's eating a potato and sipping from a chipped teacup. She doesn't even look up. "Who is she?" you ask. "Don't ask," the sergeant mutters. "Keep moving." You start to feel like the city is alive. It breathes smoke. Its heart beats with explosions. Its eyes are windows that watch you. And it doesn't like you. Later that day, you shelter in a corner basement with 6 others. You eat a tin of greasy meat paste, spooned out with the handle of a toothbrush. There's a dead cat in the corner. No one mentions it. You wonder how long before it stops being dead cat and starts being possible ration. The night brings more chaos. You're ordered to hold a position on the 2nd floor of a collapsed house. No roof, half a wall. You huddle behind a pile of bricks, rifle ready, eyes on the shadows. A Soviet patrol passes just meters below. You hold your breath. One of them stops, lights a cigarette and stares up at the sky. You think about shooting him, but your trigger finger won't move. He walks away. After a while, you realise something weird. You're not angry. Not anymore. You're just tired. Tired in your bones. Tired in your soul. You're 19, but your knees feel like 70. You wonder what you'll be like if you live to 20. You close your eyes for a second, just a second. When you open them, it's morning. There's frost on your eyebrows and a rat sitting on your boot. It doesn't run. It just stares. Welcome to the 2nd day in Stalingrad. You spend the morning chasing shadows and chewing gravel. At least that's what it feels like. Every time you lift your boots, they pull half the street with them. Chunks of frostbitten mud, bits of brick, and sometimes something worse. The snow here is never white. It's grey, ash-stained, soaked in who knows what. The smell of burning lingers even on days without shelling. By now you've stopped expecting normalcy. There are no front lines. There are no rear lines. Stalingrad is a patchwork of miniature hells, stitched together with the occasional lull in gunfire. You're not fighting over land. You're fighting over individual rooms, sometimes over a single wall. Take this morning. You and your squad are sent to clear out what used to be an apartment building. Not a block, a single building. 5 stories of crumbling concrete and shattered windows. That's your whole mission. Secure it. Hold it. Don't die doing it. Simple, right? First floor's clear. Abandoned. You tiptoe through a destroyed living room that still has a piano somehow standing in the corner. Someone presses a key by accident. The note rings out, hollow, eerie and absurd. You all freeze. For a second it's funny. For a second. Then shots from the stairwell. You dive behind the piano. Bullets chew the wall behind you. One of your squad mates screams, not dead, but hit. You can tell by the pitch. Wounded guys scream. Dead guys don't. You pull him back by his collar as another sprays return fire up the steps. Your ears ring with the echo. Historians still argue whether the Soviets encouraged their snipers to nest in civilian buildings as psychological warfare, or whether it was just the only cover they had left. Either way, they're good at it. Better than good. They aim for joints, for necks, for exposed hands reaching for grenades. It feels personal, like they've been watching you for days. You inch your way up the stairs, every step creaking like it's about to give out. By the second floor, your throat is dry from holding your breath. You peek into a bedroom that looks weirdly untouched, until you notice the tripwire strung between the doorframe. Just waiting. You're not even sure what it's attached to. Could be a grenade, could be a homemade bomb, could be a booby-trapped doll like the one a guy in your platoon found last week. He's not around to tell the story. You leave the room alone. Third floor, more resistance. A Soviet squad, dug in behind the remains of a kitchen. You think it's a kitchen. It has a sink. There's still a frying pan hanging from a hook. You see it flash just before it's used to deflect a bayonet. Yes, really. This city is improvisation incarnate. You lose another guy on that floor. Shot clean through the eye. No scream this time, just a thud, and then he's down. He was 23, liked jazz, talked about owning a radio store after the war. You grab his ammo without thinking. By the time you reach the top floor, you're out of grenades, out of patience and out of breath. But you clear it. Somehow. You plant your unit's little flag in a pile of rubble like it means something. And it does for about 2 hours. Until the Soviets counterattack from the sewers. That's right, from underneath. You didn't even know there were sewers in Stalingrad. Now you do. Now you wish you didn't. They come up through a hole in the basement floor and catch the second squad totally off guard. It's chaos. Screams, smoke, gunfire, bayonets. You hear everything from upstairs but can't get down in time. When you do, it's over. Just bodies and broken furniture and the echo of footsteps fading down a tunnel. You retake the ground floor. Again, you don't even know why anymore. By now, the building is just a pile of bricks loosely arranged in a vertical shape. Not much cover, but orders are orders. You dig in. You spend the afternoon fortifying the windows, piling debris into makeshift walls, and arguing over who gets the one remaining cigarette. A guy offers to trade his extra sock for it. Another guy offers a bullet. The cigarette guy takes the sock. Good choice. Later you find a dead Soviet soldier in one of the bathtubs, just lying there, arms crossed, no blood, no wounds you can see. He looks peaceful, like he chose this spot. You wonder if he froze or just gave up. You try to close his eyes, but they're already frozen open. You cover him with a curtain. That night, you sleep in shifts, if you can call it sleep. The wind screams through the shattered walls and snowflakes drift across the floor. You wrap yourself in an old curtain. Press your back against the radiator. It's cold, of course. And listen to the city breathe. Because it does. You swear it does. Sometimes you hear whispers. echoes. Not from people. Well, not living ones. Maybe it's just the wind. Maybe it's your mind finally cracking. But you hear it. By now you've picked up a few quirks. You tap your helmet twice before turning corners. You keep a piece of mirror in your pocket to check windows without showing your head. You've stopped talking about going home. It jinxes things. You carry everything on you. Ammo, ration crumbs, bandages, photos of people you can barely remember. You don't trust leaving anything behind. Someone might take it. Or worse, someone might need it after you're gone. The funny thing, you still brush your teeth. Or try to. It feels like a tiny rebellion against the filth. A way to say, no, I'm still human. One guy in your squad even shaves, every morning, with snowmelt and a broken mirror. He says if he's going to die, he wants to look decent doing it. That night, as you curl up in your corner, you hear music. Faint, distant. A harmonica maybe. Someone's playing an old folk tune. Could be German, could be Russian. It doesn't matter. It's beautiful. It drifts through the rubble like a ghost's lullaby. You close your eyes, and for a moment, just a moment, you're not in Stalingrad. You're woken before dawn by the kind of sound that doesn't belong in nature. A sharp crack that slices the air, then a metallic ting as a bullet ricochets off a pipe somewhere behind your head. The Soviets are up early, or maybe they never went to sleep. Who knows anymore? Time's slippery here. Hours melt into each other like frost on a hot barrel. You scramble to your feet, still wrapped in that dusty curtain from last night, and grab your rifle. It's so cold your fingers stick to the metal. You try to peel them off gently, but the skin tears a little anyway. Just another layer you didn't need. Outside, the city is lit with a ghostly glow. Not sunrise, just fire somewhere in the distance. Maybe an ammo dump caught a shell. Maybe a truck of supplies went up. Maybe it's just another building that decided today was the day to die. You peek through a crack in the wall and there it is. Movement. Shadows slipping between broken walls. You raise your rifle, but your breath clouds the sight. You wipe it away with a gloved thumb, just in time to see the enemy disappear into a hole in the ground. Great. The sewers again. You'd think a destroyed city wouldn't have an underground, but Stalingrad does. It has layers, catacombs, old drainage tunnels. Some say they go all the way to the Volga. The Soviets use them like magic tricks, vanishing one moment, reappearing 2 blocks over. A guy in your squad calls them Earth Ghosts. You start calling them that too. You're sent out with a small patrol to plug one of the sewer access points. The plan is simple. Drop some grenades down, collapse the tunnel, then post a sentry. Except the tunnel you're assigned to isn't empty. The second you get within 10 meters, gunfire erupts from below. Muzzle flashes light up the hole like angry fireflies. You dive into cover as bullets chew through brick beside your head. One guy throws a grenade. It bounces off the rim and rolls back. Everyone dives again. You hear a thump, then a scream. Not one of yours. Must have landed further in. Doesn't make it feel any better. By now, you're learning that every part of this city is weaponized. Even the things that aren't supposed to be. Like rubble piles that conceal anti-personnel mines. Or staircases rigged with wires. Or corpses. Yes, actual bodies that have grenades stuffed under them, waiting for someone to check for ID tags. Historians still debate whether the Red Army planned these traps en masse, or whether it was just the result of thousands of desperate soldiers doing whatever it took to hold the line. Either way, the effect is the same. You stop trusting the ground beneath you. You start walking like you're navigating a haunted house. Slow, careful, breath held. At midday, you return to your position, hands shaking from adrenaline and cold. Your boots are soaked again. You're starting to lose sensation in your left foot, and you don't want to think about what that means. You saw a guy lose 3 toes last week. Frostbite. Looked like charcoal sausages. You try warming your foot by the tiny stove someone cobbled together from an old shell casing. It barely burns. Some guys are feeding it scraps of broken furniture. Someone jokes that you're literally burning the city for warmth. No one laughs. Lunch, if you can call it that, is a tin of something labelled in smudged Gothic script. Could be meat, could be glue. You chew it slowly, not because you're savouring it, just because your jaw's too stiff to move fast. It tastes like cardboard soaked in rust. A new guy joins your squad today. Transfer from another unit. His eyes are too wide, his cheeks too clean, and he still says things like, "When this is over, he'll learn, or he won't." He asks where the latrine is. Everyone just looks at him. Eventually someone points to a collapsed balcony. "Anywhere over there," they mutter. You haven't seen a proper toilet in weeks. You squat wherever the snow is least blood-stained, usually behind a wall that offers just enough privacy to pretend you're alone. You'd give anything for toilet paper. Anything. Mid-afternoon, you're sent to reinforce a machine gun team in what used to be a bakery. The smell of scorched flour still lingers. There's even a loaf of bread petrified in the oven, rock hard and dusted with grey ash. You almost bite it anyway. The machine gun nest is down to half ammo and the gun itself is jamming every 10th round. The crew has names for it. Greta when it works. Whore when it doesn't. Today, it's the latter. A Soviet push comes just before dusk. You see them before you hear them. Dark figures crawling over snowbanks like insects, darting from crater to crater. You open fire, trying to stay calm. The recoil jolts your shoulder. The smell of gunpowder burns your nose. You count your rounds in your head, lose track, and just keep shooting. The enemy fades back, leaving behind a few still forms in the snow. You don't cheer. There's no victory here. Just survival. You reload. Hands shaking, eyes stinging. Another guy slaps you on the back and says, "Nice shooting." You nod. You don't even remember pulling the trigger. After the attack, things quiet down. You use the brake to clean your rifle, sip from a canteen that's half ice, and wrap your foot in newspaper. It's not medical grade, but it's dry. You lie back against a wall and stare at the ceiling, or what's left of it. There's a hole the size of a motorcycle, punched clean through by some long-forgotten shell. Through it, you can see the stars, cold and distant. You wonder what they look like from Berlin, from home. You try to remember what your mother's kitchen smelled like. You fail. That night, a Soviet propaganda truck rolls close enough for you to hear. It plays scratchy music and a woman's voice in broken German telling you to surrender, that you're surrounded, that no help is coming, that your Führer has forgotten you. She's not wrong. You roll over, press your hands against your ears and try to sleep. You dream of warm bread, a real coat, a train heading west. But when you open your eyes, it's just frost and the long bitter breath of another Stalingrad morning. You're halfway through, chewing a mouthful of frozen bread when a crack echoes across the courtyard. Sharp, deliberate, unmistakable. You drop flat without thinking, face buried in slush, rifle clutched to your chest. Your teeth still sting from biting down mid-chew. Somewhere above, something creaks. A window? A pipe? You don't dare look up. Snipers. Again. They're everywhere. Every window is suspect, every chimney a potential muzzle, every crack in a wall feels like a blinking eye. The Soviets have turned sniping into a sport and you're the prey. You can go days without seeing one, but you always feel them, watching, waiting. You've started crossing open spaces like a cartoon character, crouched, zigzagging, holding your breath like that'll somehow make you invisible. Today's shot took out one of the cooks, not even a frontline guy, just a skinny 20-year-old who handed out soup with a ladle and used to sing while he stirred. His helmet rolls across the ice, coming to rest against a frozen boot. No one rushes to help, not because they don't care, but because there might be a second shot. There usually is. You drag his body back behind a wall using a length of electrical wire. It's not personal. It's just that grabbing fabric makes you too big of a target. You learned that the hard way last week when a guy tried to carry a wounded comrade and caught a bullet in the spine. Now you stay low and you improvise. Historians still argue whether Soviet snipers in Stalingrad operated as isolated marksmen or coordinated cells embedded across the ruins. Either way, it doesn't matter to you. What matters is that someone out there, someone with warm gloves and steady hands, is calmly lining up their next shot. Your squad's taken to naming them. The ghost of Sector 7, Old Man Smoke, the Angel of Death. It's dark humour, sure, but it helps. Gives the fear a face. Makes it feel less like a curse and more like a duel. You start carrying a shard of mirror in your pocket. You use it to peek around corners without showing your head. It's a crude trick, but it's saved your life twice already. Once, you caught the glint of a scope just before stepping into the open. The bullet still came, but it hit the wall instead of your lung. You've also learned to move like a rat. Fast, low, and only when the wind howls loud enough to cover your footsteps. When the snow falls, you don't curse it. You bless it. It muffles noise. It blurs outlines. It buys you time. But still, living under the crosshairs takes a toll. You start seeing phantom glints in every puddle. You flinch at camera flashes in your dreams. You imagine a tiny red dot resting on your chest whenever you stand up too fast. You don't stretch. You don't wave. You barely blink outside. You stop being human in the open. You become a shape, a shadow, a problem to solve. Once you meet a Soviet prisoner, young, wounded, barely able to speak German. You offer him water. He refuses. Stares at you with eyes older than the city. Then, in broken words, he says, "Our snipers know your names." You don't know if he's telling the truth, but the next day you stay inside. The buildings aren't safe either, but they feel safer. Kind of. You hide behind stacks of rubble, crawl under collapsed beams, shuffle between half-rooms that used to be homes. You find a child's doll one day, missing an eye, arm scorched. Someone's written Mutti in shaky black ink across its chest. You toss it aside. Too risky. Could be rigged. It always comes back to that. Risk. Everything is risk now. You weigh every move like it costs blood. Because it does. By the end of the week, your squad gets new orders. Push forward 2 blocks and secure a bombed-out administrative building. You laugh. Not because it's funny, but because administrative buildings sound so civilized. You imagine desks, potted plants, maybe a filing cabinet. What you find is a pile of twisted rebar and crushed concrete that smells faintly of old fire and wet rats. You move in cautiously, clearing room after room. The elevator shaft is a vertical tomb, the stairwell's been blown away, and the 3rd floor is accessible only by crawling across a fallen beam that sways with every gust of wind. Somehow you're the lucky one who draws the short straw. You inch your way across the beam on your belly, arms hugging the splintered wood, trying not to look down. 5 meters beneath you is a pit full of twisted metal and, yeah, you saw it too. A boot. Just the boot. No leg inside. That's something, you guess. On the 3rd floor, you find the sniper nest. Clever. It's set inside an old office with a broken desk, a sandbag wall and a perfect view of the street below. There's a rifle still resting on its biped, but no shooter. Whoever was here is gone. Or hiding. You check behind the door. Closet. Empty. Then you hear it. Faint breathing. Behind the file cabinet, you raise your rifle. Slowly. Quietly. Then a voice. Female. Soft. Trembling. Niet strelier. You pause. A Soviet sniper? A partisan? She steps out slowly, hands raised, face pale, wrapped in a dirty scarf. She's maybe 20, maybe younger. She doesn't look like a soldier, but you've seen teenage boys toss grenades and old women set fire to tanks. She sees your rifle, closes her eyes, waits. You don't shoot. Instead, you step back. You lower your weapon. She nods just once and disappears into the stairwell before you can change your mind. Back downstairs, you say nothing. Your officer asks if the room was clear. You nod. Some things don't make it into the reports. That night the wind picks up again. Your shelter loses another wall. You spend 2 hours hammering scrap metal over the hole just to keep the snow out. The nails bend. The wind howls. The city groans like it's tired of both of you. Later you clean your rifle by candlelight. Carefully. Deliberately. You've learned that skipping the routine just once can mean the difference between life and a jammed bolt at the worst possible second. A guy near you hums, quietly. A lullaby maybe, or something from the radio back home. You don't ask, you just listen. And as the candle flickers low and your hand stops shaking for the first time all day, you realise something. You haven't seen the stars in a week. Too much smoke, too much war, too much Stalingrad. You wake up with your fingers clenched around your rifle stock so tightly that you have to pry them loose one at a time. It's still dark, though it could be morning, could be night. The sky over Stalingrad stays grey, like it's forgotten how to be anything else. Your joints ache, your lips are split, and your breath is visible in the air, thick, shallow, like the city's trying to suffocate you without using hands. There's no coffee, no breakfast, no warm water, just orders. Today, you're moving to a new position, a railway depot, or what's left of one. You and 4 others are sent to reinforce a squad that's been holding the station's main hall for 2 days straight. That's a long time in Stalingrad. Most positions change hands 3 times a day. You make the journey crouched and hunched, slipping through alleys, ducking under wreckage, stopping only to check every shadow twice. You don't speak, you just gesture. A raised fist, a flick of the fingers, a single nod. The kind of language that doesn't make noise. The depot comes into view like something out of a fever dream. Giant iron ribs sticking out of the ground where the roof used to be. Boxcars shattered and blackened. The tracks twisted like cooked spaghetti. You hear machine gun fire ahead. Not constant, just punctuation. Like the city itself is stuttering. The squad you're relieving is down to 3 men. One's missing a boot. One's missing 2 fingers. One just keeps staring at the ceiling. When you ask what happened, none of them answer. You don't push. You post up behind a rusted-out train car and take in the scene. The floor is littered with shredded paper, glass, splinters, bones. Yes, bones. Probably from the horses that used to pull those carts. Probably. You sit back to steel, knees pulled up to your chest, trying to get some feeling into your toes. They've gone that dead numb again. That's the thing about this cold. It isn't loud or sudden. It's quiet, patient. It seeps into you slowly, then never leaves. Someone hands you a cup of soup, or something that wants to be soup. It's warm water with floating specks of meat, a few grains of rice, and, surprise, a cigarette butt at the bottom. You still drink it. You still say thank you. By midday, the cold gets worse. You didn't think it could, but it does. The kind of cold that makes your eyes water and then freezes the tears on your lashes. You pull your scarf up over your face, but it's already frozen stiff. Your breath forms ice on your collarbone. You look at the guy next to you and his eyebrows have frost. You laugh. He laughs. Then he coughs blood into a rag and turns away. The depot gets shelled sometime after lunch. You never see it coming. 1 minute you're watching the snow fall through a crack in the ceiling. The next minute the world is screaming. Your ears ring. You hit the ground. Debris rains down. You crawl under a rail car and cover your head with your helmet and hope you're not next. The shelling lasts maybe 5 minutes, maybe 5 hours. Time blurs. When it stops, the depot is different. Fewer walls, more smoke. One of the guys from the other squad is gone. Just gone. You find his helmet 3 meters away, still warm. You find his arm, that's it. You don't cry. Not because you're brave, just because your eyes are frozen and your body's forgotten how. Later, your sergeant hands out new rations. You get half a tin of mystery meat, a crust of black bread that smells faintly of oil, and something called ersatz coffee. It's made from roasted acorns and tastes like burnt regret. Still, it's warm. You savour every sip. And here's the kicker, there's no more mail. The last truck that tried to bring letters got hit. So now, even the words from home are gone. You try to remember the last thing your mother wrote. Something about keeping your socks dry. You want to laugh. You want to scream. You want to sleep for 100 years. That night, you're on watch again, sitting in the depot's shattered entryway, staring at the darkness beyond. Your rifle rests on your knees. Your fingers twitch involuntarily. You hear things, scraping, whispering, the occasional thud. Could be rats, could be Soviets, could be your mind unspooling. Historians still argue whether the cold or the combat caused more losses at Stalingrad. Some say exposure claimed more soldiers than bullets. You believe it. You've seen men freeze in their sleep. You've seen skin turn black and peel off like bark. You've seen a man cut off his own toe with a bayonet because it had turned to wood. You keep flexing your toes in your boots just in case. The depot holds through the night. Barely. At dawn, a Soviet patrol tests your position with gunfire. You respond automatically. You're not even scared anymore. You're too tired for fear. You fire, reload, fire, duck, cough, fire again. They retreat. You lose one man, shot in the throat. He makes a gurgling sound and dies with his eyes open. You close them with trembling fingers. His name was Ulrich. You didn't know him well. He talked about peaches once, said his grandmother had a tree. You wonder if he'll be buried. Probably not. The next day you get a new pair of boots. Well, new. Someone else's. Still warm, still damp. You try not to think about who wore them last. You move to a corner of the depot where there's less wind. You pull out a pencil stub and write a note on the back of a ration label. It's not a letter, just some words. A name. Maybe someone will find it. Maybe not. You tuck it into your coat. You don't believe in miracles anymore, but you believe in stories. And if someone finds this one, maybe it'll mean something. Maybe it'll mean you were here, that you mattered, even in this place, even in this cold, even in Stalingrad. You wake up to scratching, not gunfire, not shelling, just a soft, steady scratching coming from somewhere inside the depot walls. You blink, disoriented, then reach for your rifle. The sound stops, then starts again. You cock your head and wait. There it is. Scratch, scratch, scratch. It's not boots, not voices, just claws. Rats. Big ones. You don't scream. You've seen worse. But still, there's something particularly vile about waking up to the sound of something chewing its way toward you. These aren't the cute cartoon kind. These are starvation rats. War rats. Bold enough to drag boots across the floor. You've seen them crawl into open mouths. One guy swears they're eating the dead. Another says they've taken to nibbling on the living. You don't ask for proof. By now, you've made peace with the filth. You've stopped brushing dirt from your sleeves. You only wipe your face if blood gets in your eyes. Your fingernails are black. Your socks haven't been changed in 9 days. And when you take your boots off, on the rare occasion you dare, your feet steam like boiling potatoes, not from warmth, from rot. You share your shelter with 5 other men. The room used to be a ticket office. Now it's a mixture of mud, straw, frozen puddles and discarded gear. The walls are paper thin and peppered with holes from shrapnel. You plug them with rags, newspapers, chunks of uniform, anything to slow the wind. Your corner has a box. You guard that box like a treasure chest because inside it is your prized possession. 2 extra candles, real wax. Not the grease-rolled ones that sputter out after 10 minutes. You use one for light and save the other. For what? You don't know. Maybe for the day you decide to write your final letter. Maybe for a birthday you won't live to see. Breakfast today is a spoonful of lard on black bread. It sticks to your gums and goes down like sand. Still, it's calories. That's all that matters now. Fuel, not taste. You chew slowly and pretend it's schnitzel. Outside the snow's piled up again, high against the buildings like it's trying to bury them. Everything is quiet. Too quiet. The Soviets haven't pushed in 2 days, which doesn't mean they're gone. It means they're planning something. You volunteer for water duty, not because you want to, but because staying still is worse. You gather the empty canisters and trudge toward the collection point, a crater that's filled with semi-frozen runoff. You've been warned not to drink straight from it. You do anyway. Everyone does. On the way, you pass what used to be a square. A statue still stands in the middle, headless now, one arm missing. Snow clings to the stump where a sword once was. A crow sits on the shoulder, watches you, doesn't fly away. You hear gunfire in the distance. Close, but not your problem. You keep walking. At the crater you meet 2 soldiers from another unit. They look worse than you. One's missing an ear. The other's face is burned red from frost. They don't talk. You just nod to each other, fill your canisters, and leave. On their way back you spot something strange. A paper stuck in a window frame, flapping in the wind. Curious, you climb a rubble heap to reach it. It's a flyer, Soviet propaganda in German. Your sacrifice is pointless. Lay down your weapons. Go home before you're buried here. There's a picture of a German mother holding a baby. You stare at it for a long time. Then you take it, fold it, and tuck it into your coat. Not because you believe it, because you miss the idea of that woman. Back at the depot, the sergeant announces a visitor, a medic. She's been sent by command to check frostbite cases. You laugh. It's the first real one in weeks. A medic. Now? What's next? Warm towels and apple strudel? But she comes anyway. Young, pale, wrapped in 3 layers of uniform and still shivering. She checks hands, feet, ears, tells 2 men they'll lose fingers if they don't keep warm, tells one that it's too late. She gives out aspirin like it's gold. Then she's gone. Just like that. A ghost in a wool cap. That night you can't sleep. Something about that visit unsettled you. A reminder of the world outside this crater.